Friends, we are about to begin services at this time. I would ask if anyone has a cell phone or any other noise-making device. We'll ask you to please turn that off and start making your way to your seats. Again, friends, we are going to begin services at this time. We'll ask everyone to start making their way to their seats. And again, as everyone is making their way to their seats, just a reminder, if you have a cell phone or any other noise-making device, if you take a moment, please, to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. And friends, again, at this time, we are going to start services for Donna Gottlieb. Again, if you do have a cell phone or any other noise-making device, please turn that off at this time or place it in the silent mode. Officiating our services today is Rabbi Evan Moffick and Cantor J. O'Brien from Macomb Solel Lakeside.
Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. And life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. These words, which were penned by Rabbi Alvin Fine, really express the Jewish philosophy of life and of death. They tell us that we come here in grief, in deep grief. But we also come here as much as we can with the measure of gratefulness. Grateful that God blessed the world with the life of Donna Gottlieb. Our Jewish funeral service is fairly simple. It consists of some readings, some psalms, some reflections, and concludes with the El Mole Rachamim prayer. We'll continue now with the words of the 23rd Psalm. We'll read them together in English, and then Cantor O'Brien will chant them in Hebrew. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Adonai roi lo echsar Bihino de sheyarbitzeini Alemei menuchot yenaleini Nafshi yeshovev Yancheni b'magel tzedek Yancheni b'magel tzedek Leman shemo Gam ki yelech megetz al mahaved Lo irara ki ata imadi Shivtecha umishantecha Hey Mayanachamuni Taharoch lefanai Shucha neged zorerai Nishan tav Hashem en roshi Kosi revayai Ach tov achesed yedefuni Kol yemei chayai, kol yemei chayai V'shavti bebeit Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai roi lo echsar.
At the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember Donna Gottlieb, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. As long as we live, Donna too shall live. She is now a part of us as we remember her. I'd like to invite up Jim, followed by Brian, followed by Danny, who will share their memories.
Donna was a wonderful wife and mother to Brian and Danny, grandmother to Bradley, Jason, and Lauren, and to Mitchell, Maxwell, and Ethan. She loved them very much, and they loved her in the same way. You don't know how much you love someone until they're gone.
Just stay here with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I look across my bed, and Donna isn't there. As I was preparing this talk, I walked into the kitchen to refill my coffee cup, and I noticed Donna's purple water jug that some of you know she frequently carried. I shed a tear. At a time when most people don't want to go to the grocery store, Donna loved to go. From the time we were first married, when I would meet her at the Jewel on Morse Avenue after I got off the L after law school, to recent days, Donna would look at the grocery store ads, make a list, and pester me until I took her. At the Jewel, Donna would pedal around in her wheelchair, not at all self-conscious, picking out her listed items and toss them in the cart as I followed. She was happy there. I'd like to say a special thanks to Donna's wonderful caregiver, Lita.
All right, I have two speeches to read today. One is mine, and one is for Uncle Jeff, who couldn't be here, my mom's brother. He loved her very much. And I'm going to start with mine. His is much longer. For those of you who are at Jason and Lauren's B'nai Mitzvah party, I promise this will be a shorter speech. As many of you know, my mom was from Canton, Ohio. Her dad passed away when she was in high school, and she was extraordinarily close with her mom and her brother Jeff and her sister Sandy. Mom had many aunts, uncles, and cousins who grew up nearby, and she loved reminding me of where everyone fit into the family tree. Although at the end, I think she was really confused about that. She loved all of her close relatives, but of course, most of all, she loved her mom, her sister, and her brother. And later, as the family migrated to Florida, Danny and I grew closer with Aunt Sandy, Uncle Jeff, and their families, and visited regularly. Mom grew up modestly, and money was never a comfortable subject for her, even as she and my dad had everything they ever wanted. She was always excited to hear about the vacations that Danny and I were taking, the Saturday night dinners in the city, and the crazy amounts we spent for summer camp. But I know it made her nervous. In the last 10 years, Dad and Mom treated my family and Danny's family to several wonderful vacations, and I know it made her so happy to be able to do that for her children and her grandchildren. My mom was a nursery school teacher, and she loved children. Nothing made her happier than spending time with her grandchildren and she especially loved when they were young and she could color, bake cookies, and read books with them. As Bradley, Jason, and Lauren got older, she couldn't believe how busy they were, and she always asked me if they were tired. Mom was a wonderful wife and partner to my dad. With only love and respect, I've described her to people over the last several days as a 1950s wife. While she worked as a nursery school teacher, she took the most pride in being a wonderful homemaker, cook, wife, and mother. Later in life, she and my dad explored their interest in food and wine and traveled to Mexico where she could practice her Spanish and buy local art. During these last 2 years with COVID and her condition, she was really worried about Dad and wanted to make sure he stayed busy and happy. Most of all, she was a great mom. She loved us, raised us, took care of us, and taught us Jewish values. She made the best matzo ball soup, brownies, and brisket. What more does a mom have to do? Toward the end, she was so happy when I called and stopped by with the kids. I'm really sorry I didn't do it more. I love you and I miss you. Okay. All right, buckle in. Again, my Uncle Jeff couldn't be here today. He asked if I would pass along his following thoughts. I always like it when my nephews call, so when I saw Brian's name on my ringing phone last Friday morning, I cheerfully picked it up and said, Brian, how are you doing? I haven't had a cheerful moment since. My big sister Donna has been a constant in my life since I first saw the light of day. That will continue, but differently. She has joined my mom, dad, and sister in God's hands, as well as in a special place in my heart, brain, and library of memories. Please let me share my thoughts, and please forgive me for rambling on. This isn't easy. Today is a sad day for all of us, but let me assure you that despite Donna's health issues in recent years, she had a good life. I remember being a little boy driving back and forth to Cleveland on Sundays to visit my dad's relatives. One day Donna and Sandy would be fighting like cats and dogs, and the next minute they would be laughing and singing along to bebop songs. I remember when I was 5 and we all flew for Christmas vacation to Miami Beach. It was glorious. Swimming every day with my sisters, following them around like a puppy in a hotel at least twice as tall as any building in Canton, seeing Indians wrestle alligators, going to a nightclub, and more. But probably the highlight of the trip, or should I say the low light, was Donna jumping off the diving board and breaking her toe on Sandy's head. I have not heard that story. My memories of growing up in Canton are never ending, and Donna is right in the middle of those memories. We had a big area at the top of our driveway where my dad had developed a basketball court. Most of the kids coming over were older than me, but Donna always made sure I was included. I remember many times sitting on the top step looking down into our lower den, watching Donna and Sandy and their friends doing the jitterbug with the TV turned up loud for American Bandstand. Their laughter was intoxicating. I remember Donna being ecstatic when she was elected president of BBG, a big deal in Canton. And probably many of you have heard about Taggart's ice cream or Haggie's chocolates. We always thought everything in Canton was the best. And I remember going to Temple on the holidays or the country club for Sunday dinner, always as a family. Unfortunately, we lost our dad at the start of Donna's senior year of high school, and Donna and I both got pneumonia that year, so let's write off that year. But her years before that were truly filled with joy and laughter. Donna then moved on to college, earning a teaching degree, and in her last year, she met Jim. I remember the ear-to-ear smiles when she brought up Jim to Canton. You all know the story from there. She was the consummate wife, mother, and grandma. That became her life. She truly couldn't do enough for you. For my part, I'll never forget how she opened up her house and her heart to Michael and me so many times, Michael's his son, when I was going through a rough patch. I don't think I could ever send her enough purple flowers to thank her and let her know how I felt. I wish I could send more. Maybe the internet will have an app for that someday. I now have 2 pictures front and center on my mantle. One picturing Danny and me from Danny and Emily's wedding. She looked terrific and her smile could light up her room. The other one being from one of the trips that she and Jim took the entire family on. Not certain Donna was feeling well even back then, but the joy and love shown in her smile clearly show that nothing was more important to Donna than her family. I'll remember her that way and always cherish the memories. I'm betting that Donna is fully rejuvenated now and that she and Sandy have already met up to giggle and dance and jitterbug. God bless you, Donna, and may you rest in peace and always know you are loved by us all.
I think it's hard going third. Just wanted to just start by thanking everyone for coming and watching on the live stream, and I got so many kind messages from everyone. I know my mom would be so happy that and grateful that everyone's looking after us. For my mom, spending time with family was always the most important thing. She always looked forward to the next holiday or birthday dinner, or bar mitzvah, b'nai mitzvah, other special event when she could be together with all of us. Whenever I called my mom, the most pressing question was always, when are we coming over next? Many of my most vivid memories with my mom were family celebrations on Passover and Rosh Hashanah. She worked so hard to make a delicious meal and make sure that her table looked beautiful and special for everyone. My mom really expressed her love for us and for others through food. It brought her such joy to watch everyone eating her cooking and having fun in her home. When I was growing up, she would make matzo ball soup for the holidays and let me eat it before, during, and after the holiday. I was always so excited when she would start making it, and I would always have a negotiation with her about how much of it I could eat before everyone came over. Her matzo ball soup was like 1,000 hugs and kisses. When I was in grammar school, I had the option to either eat lunch in school or I could take the bus home for lunch. I was a really picky eater at the time, with a diet limited to pizza, bagels, and French fries. So I liked to come home and eat lunch with my mom. Every day she would make me mini Lender's bagels with just the right amount of butter on them. And she knew that if she made the full-size bagels that I might have a meltdown. So the freezer at home was always stocked with the mini Lender's bagels, so that we would never be out. On my birthday, she always made sure to bring me a green bagel since I was born on St. Patrick's Day. She loved celebrating birthdays and always made them so festive for all of us. Even recently, when it was hard for her to stand in the kitchen and cook, she would make Grandma Myrtle's butter cookies with Lita and give them to Brian and me. My mom was also well known for having lots of helpful opinions. When I got older and other women competed for my attention, my mom was not always so thrilled, especially when they would cause us to depart from her preferred approach. When I told her that I planned to ask Emily to marry me, she asked, "Are you sure?" We still laugh about it today, and of course, Emily won her over. She was also a great role model for how to be a loving and caring spouse. She took great care of my dad, and they had a loving marriage together, full of lots of laughs. On very rare occasions, my mom would not be home to make dinner for us or for my dad. On those days, there would always be a plate in the refrigerator with a note on top that said, "Jim's dinner." And during these past years, my dad lovingly took care of my mom. It was not always easy, but he worked so hard to make her comfortable and help her. Mom loved her grandchildren so much. She brought so many toys for her backyard and for her basement. Mom loved to watch them play at Grandma's house, as she called it. She loved to take them for donuts, ice cream, and other treats. It did not matter if lunch or dinner were minutes away. It was always a good time for Dunkin' Donuts. Mitchell, Maxwell, and Ethan talk about my mom arriving at our house with a visor on her head and shouting, "Grandma's here." She loved to bring fun projects to do with my boys, like she did with her nursery school students. Even this past summer, when it was hard for her to walk, she would come to Ethan's baseball games to cheer him on. Mom truly loved children throughout her life. She spent 23 years as a teacher, including 20 years as a nursery school teacher. She loved interacting with the kids and seeing them around Highland Park. She would come home from school and repeat all the funny and endearing things they said that day. As her grandchildren got older, she enjoyed family trips with Brian's and my families. She did not let her health prevent her from joining us at the pool or at night for dinner. We loved watching her race around in her motorized wheelchair like Mario Andretti in Turks and Caicos. We have such amazing memories from our trips together. My mom also loved a good sale. The day after Christmas sale or final markdown at Neiman Marcus was the equivalent of a national holiday. She would arrive at the store before the doors were unlocked and loved looking through the sale tables for a great bargain. Finding the designer sweater with a large discount was a great achievement. Once she received a stack of calendars with monthly coupons for discount fried chicken at Brown's Chicken, and Brown's became a second home for us. My mom was also known for her love for the color lavender. My parents' house has lavender and peach everywhere, including lavender carpet in the bedroom. Whenever I see lavender, I think of my mom. I'm sure she's in a special place now where everything is peach and lavender, and it's always final markdown time. Mom, I love you so much. I'm so blessed to have had a time we had together. I miss you terribly.
Such powerful, meaningful, heartfelt words. You know, they remind me of this wonderful Jewish text where the rabbis are debating what is the most wonderful quality of a human being. And one rabbi says a good eye, kind of see the future, good thing, good sight, good foresight. One says a good neighbor, in other words, having a good friend, good community. Another says a good community, being in the right place at the right time, strong friendships. And then Rabbi Akiba says a good heart, because a good heart encompasses everything else. And as we just heard, Donna Gottlieb had a wonderful heart. It was a heart that anyone who knew her could see that. From her children, from Jim, to members of our synagogue, to her students at preschool, to her friends, to the people she saw in the grocery store, you could tell she had a good heart. She had a wonderful smile. She just had a wonderful way about her. It's kind of like you could feel close and feel a connection right away. And there are a few people in the world like that, where you really you sense their kindness. You sense what in the Hebrew chesed, a sense of love, a sense of loving kindness. And that will be deeply missed, because that heart touched so many people. But we can take comfort in knowledge of this wonderful Jewish midrash legend, and it tells that these two ships that are both near land. One ship going out of the harbor, leaving on a journey, and everyone's cheering it, giving it a wonderful send-off. But the incoming ship is scarcely noticed. And a wise man who was standing nearby chastised the people's reactions. "Rejoice not," he said, "over the ship that is setting out to sea. For you know not what destiny awaits it, what storms it may encounter, what dangers lurk before it. Rejoice rather over the ship that has reached port safely and brought back all its passengers in peace." It's the way of the world that when a human being is born, everyone rejoices. But when a loved one dies, we all feel sorrow. According to this story, we can also struggle to see it the opposite way. Nobody knows what troubles await the developing child on its journey through life, but when a person has lived well and lived a full life, all can take comfort in the knowledge that she has completed her journey successfully. Donna Gottlieb made such a successful journey through life. It was a journey accompanied for 57 years, almost 57 years, by her husband, Jim, by Brian and Danny and Beth and Emily, by Bradley and Mitchell and Maxwell and Lauren and Jason and Ethan, her brother Jeffrey, and all of her friends and family who are here. And, I was thinking, I can't remember if it was Brian who said it, that kind of in some ways, some of the imagery of a 1950s housewife comes up, and maybe that's true, maybe elements are true, but behind that is a sense of heart and love. And there's a wonderful Jewish proverb. It's traditionally read by husbands to their wives on Friday night. Sometimes people don't do it so much anymore because it's a little old-fashioned, and some people might say it doesn't fit modern times, but there's a lot of beauty to it. And in this case, it feels totally appropriate and loving and kind because Donna Gottlieb embodied so many of these qualities. So I'll share it with you. Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband places his trust in her all the days of his life. She brings him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and flax and cheerfully does the work of the home. She brings forth food from afar. She rises early to prepare food for all and a fair share for her staff. She invests herself and girds her loins with strength. She stretches out her hand to those in need. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. She has little fear for her household, for they are dressed and girded in strength. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the lessons and words of kindness are on her lips. She looks after her household and never tastes the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and praise her. Her husband is devoted to her. Many women have excelled, but you excel them all. Grace is elusive and beauty is vain, but in Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, she shall be praised. She is known for the fruits of her labors, and her deeds everlasting. Praise her name. For all of us who knew and loved Donna, her friends and family, Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be an everlasting blessing. God, you give us loved ones, and you make them the strength of our life and the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you, the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow-laden for consolation. God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is a dwelling place of your love and your presence. I'd ask you now, if you're comfortably able, to please rise as Cantor O'Brien chants El Mole Rachamim for us.
El Mole Rachamim, Shochein B'Meromim, Amitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Al Kanefei HaShechina, Im Keroshim Utorim, Kezor Amakiam Asyerim, Et Nishmot Shalecha Leolamov, Baal Rachamim. Yostirea beseder genafav leolamim, v'yitzror v'yitzor ha'chayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata, v'chanuach mishalom amishkava. Venomar Amen.
Eternal God, sovereign of the universe, grant peace in your everlasting presence to our beloved wife, mother, grandmother, sister, loved one, teacher, friend, Donna Gottlieb, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and may her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. For you, the eternal God, are her inheritance, May she rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen. May be seated.
Friends, this concludes this portion of the service. The interment will continue at Shalom Memorial Park in Arlington Heights. Later today, the family will be together at their residence in Highland Park. That's the Gottlieb residence at 528 Clavey Lane in Highland Park. That'll be today from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. and also Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. That information is available inside the folders you received today as you arrived. If you did not receive one, they will be made available as you depart. And for those of you who are joining us via the live stream, that information is available on our website as well. For those of you joining us in procession to the cemetery, we'll ask you to please keep a few safety measures in mind. Please make sure to obtain a funeral sticker to place on the passenger side of your front windshield. Please make sure that your bright headlights and your hazard lights are on at all times during the procession. And please try to follow the car in front of you as closely as safety permits to avoid any gaps in the procession as we make our way. The grandchildren have been asked to act as pallbearers today. As I call your names, I'll ask you to come forward. Bradley, Mitchell, Maxwell, Lauren, Jason, and Ethan Gottlieb. At this time, I'll ask everyone to please rise as we escort the family, the clergy, and Mrs. Gottlieb from the chapel.
Ask everyone to please go directly to your cars. The families